Hello, Internet. Welcome back here. This is the second episode of Lieutenant Colonel Steph Naude here. I must be honest with you people, I don't really know what the man is going to tell us, but as you can see, he's like a real Puka officer here because there's a map behind him, not a chart. We know there's a difference between a map and a chart. If you don't know what's the difference, ask them at Deploy, who is also one of our presenters. He made a long explanation, but I lost it within 2 or 3 minutes. You know, I'm from the police. Our idea of navigating is to just, well, let me not say abuse the locals and ask them where we are. It wasn't quite like that, I'm just joking. But Colonel, very welcome here. Thank you, sir. I'm glad you came back. And I think the Colonel will be back for following more episodes. We do want to speak about Colonel Jan Breitendag as well, who's a personal friend and colleague of him. Legacy viewers, don't ask me to interview Colonel Breitendag. I can't do it. The man is simply too old now. I think we should just leave him in peace. Of course, if he feels like he wants to come, he's always welcome. But we cannot go and, abuse him at his old age. We can't do that. So anyway, let's carry on. Can you tell us, last time we were speaking, perhaps you can just recap for us. You became a 3-2 Battalion Recce Wing officer, and then what happened?
Good day to everyone. The Recce Wing was taken over by Willem Ratte, and as I explained to you, we were all short-term, which is like between a national service and a permanent force. So many of us opted to go and study, which I did. But after about 2 years of agricultural economics, I opted out. I had found it difficult to adapt to civilian life, and I just wanted that adrenaline and adventure again. So I got in contact with some of the CSI guys. Specifically, he was then a Captain Dan de la Rey, and they recruited me to go to CSI, and specifically at the Rundu. Now, that department was called Directorate of Special Tasks. So the Rundu branch was the Special Task West, and then we had, I think, near Palaborwa by 5 Recce, there was the Special Task East, which served more Mozambique in those areas. But Rundu was specifically for Angolan operations, and also UNITA. Now, if I can just grab the point here, let me explain before I orientate you. 3-2 Battalion was not a regular force. It was an irregular or a guerrilla force that basically was good in counter terrorism, etc. But 3-2 was directly under the command of the Chief of the South African Defence Force, the highest general. Special Forces, on the other hand, was also a special unit, but it was tasked by the CSI, or military intelligence. So at military intelligence, we had the normal intelligence, we had counterintelligence, and we also had covert intelligence, and then the Special Task Unit. So at special tasks, we basically supported the UNITA logistically as well as operationally with training. Now, I must just tell you one thing here that many people said yes, but we wasted taxpayers' money, etc., and this and that. Now, let's be honest. The CIA funded UNITA, and there was enough money, and it was all controlled by the secret funds or whatever. Okay, I'm going to turn now to the map and just orientate you so that we can see what the real facts were. So here we have Angola. This is Namibia. This was SADF, the operational area. This was our enemy, MPLA. All this area in green was controlled by UNITA from Rundu. So you can see it was vast. And then at one point, at the second biggest city, Wambu, there was a lot of Cubans, and that's the only the MPLA only occupied some of these small towns, but the area was under the control of UNITA. So although they were in the city, they had no control of the territory. Mostly they were supplied by aircraft, etc. So I landed in Rundu early 1983. And then, the last time I was in Rundu was in late 80. And I walked to the CSI office there. It was close to 32 Battalion's HQ. And there was a commandant sitting there, which is also like a lieutenant colonel now. And I had to report to him. So I reported. Also, there was a major, Wouter Higu, sitting right next to him. And I recognized Wouter Higu. He was the training commander during our Parabat course. So, yes, he said to me, look, get yourself out at the training bases, which was located in this area, just past Omega base. And he said to me, look, there's two sergeants that were on the flight with you, Arie Kombrink and Dave Roos. So go with them. And I went to them and I said, look, sergeants, please, when you go, please just, I need to go with you. But Arie and Dave just disappeared. They left without me. So in the end, I got there a few days late. And I reported at one of the bases. I will send you a detailed map of all the bases. But I ended up at the Tigray base, which is just inside Angola. And after about 2 weeks, I was busy giving lectures, and the base commander was the national serviceman. He came to me and he said, Steph, there's somebody at the airstrip. There was an airstrip called Boabata. A brigadier and a commandant wants to see you. So I said, oh my God, what now? What have I done? And I walked to the airstrip and they were there. They flew in with an old, he's Angolan, but he's South African born, Uncle Henny van Rensburg. Now, he was a big farmer in the old days in the central island there. And he had 2 aircraft. So he managed to get this one aircraft out around about 75, and he started working for CSI. The man spoke fluent Portuguese, all the dialects all over Angola. So I met up and greeted the senior officers, and they asked me, are you Steph Naude? I said, yes. Said, were you there and did you do this and that? I said, yes. And they said, get 2 team members and prepare anti-tank training, etc. And I thought, okay, but they said you have only 2 weeks, then report in Rundu again. So I went to the same 2 sergeants, Ari and Dave Roos, and I told them, listen, remember the last time you didn't pick me up. Now you're coming with me. So prepare for anti-tank. And luckily they also did 106 recoilless courses, etc. We trained a bit at one of the camps, and then we arrived in Rundu. I think a few days after we arrived, during that time, Commandant Henny Blow tasked me or gave me a warning order saying that you have to prepare for operation hunting tanks or fighting tanks, and it's going to be about 3 months. And he said, okay, prepare your logistics, etc., etc. And he also detached engineer captain Shorty van Zyl with me. Shorty worked for CSI at that stage. And the next moment, two 7-med doctors arrived from Pretoria. Now, as you know, these guys are highly specialized, and they've done this recce selections and the courses, everything. And I was told that they will join me, and we started to prepare. I know they had a lot of these army trunks full of medicine and everything. So then there was a little snack, because we were going to go in with Sabre vehicles. Sabre vehicles, basically any type of vehicle mounted with a certain gun. It can either be a Browning or a 106 or whatever, but these vehicles were Unimogs, and they were going to have Milan anti-tank missiles, as well as 106 recoilless guns on them. But these weren't ready. So Commandant Henny Blau just said to me, okay, you guys, Steph, you, Shorty, and the 2 doctors, get on the SAML and start leaving. So you have to go. Your sergeants will follow you in the vehicles when they arrive. So anyhow, I'm going to show you how the operation started. We only had one SAML 100 with UNITA drivers. Right, from Rundu, we left south of the Kavango River. We crossed the Kavango here, so near Buffalo. Buffalo is just there. And we went inside to Mukus. From Mukus, we went straight north. And this is about 150 plus kilometers. So from there, we went to Luinga, and then we followed the Kwando River. You see, this is the Kwando River. There is Dorpus. We went straight up. Over here, we had to stop for a while. We met with UNITA's second in command. He was a brigadier, Joao Puna. And they disassembled our SAML. They offloaded it, disassembled it, and there wasn't a bridge. So they just took it over with a pond. And after 2 days, we went across the river and they assembled our SAML back again. So then we went up north. Up to this place, it's called Lutembo now, but in those days it was Cargo Lutini. And just where that river is, the R, we met up with about a brigade of UNITAs. But it was very, very difficult. Was, we had to do river crossings. All the bridges were blown up, and where the bridge is blown, you have to go all the way up to the river and see where you can cross. But at that base, there was a waterfall on the river. They call it Kedas. Kedas means a waterfall. Kedas de Luandinga. So there was a big camp there. And we settled there. We were very much welcomed by the UNITA forces. And after a few days, the two doctors started working. If there's no doctor in a vast bush area like that, they need medical attention. So in that time, Shorty and I went on a reconnaissance with about 200 men up north to where that cross is, to see for possible places for tank ambushes, obstacles, etc. Now, Shorty being an engineer, he knows all these things, and they know how to lay tank ambushes or obstacles. Anyhow, we came back after about a week or two, and we sat there waiting for our Sabre vehicles and the rest of our instructors. And that was going to be a long wait, because even after 6 weeks, nothing happened, and I got quite bored. But we built a sort of a trim gym or a trim park around the base, and the doctors and I would run and exercise, and in the afternoon we could go and bath. Just on top of the falls there was these pools or whatever, and we sit there with heavy scrub the whole day. And anyhow, so I said to the doctors, please, just give me a job. I want to do something, you know. And they said the one, I forgot to tell you their names, but I don't have their surnames. The one was Andre. He was a tall, blondie guy, huge beard. And the other one was Christy or something, uh, curly hair. So they said to me, come. Uh, they were trained in dental practices as well. So, but they could do. In fact, they pulled my tooth here in Afrikaans. We call it verstandtande. So they said, okay, that's going to be your job for now. So I pulled some teeth for for a month or so, and one day the medic came to me and he said to me, you know, I want this teeth out. I said, there's nothing wrong with your teeth. They're perfect. He said, no, I want it out. You know, and then I said, okay, only 2 a day because of the bleeding and all that. And I think by 10, I was just about finishing off the front. And the next moment, we had an attack and we had to evacuate the base. And we packed, and he left he took the, let's call it the pliers with him. And when we were in the safe area, he came back to me and he said, yeah, continue pulling the other ones. So I finished all his teeth and he was happy. He didn't bother me again. Anyhow, then after about 10 weeks, the sabers and our instructors, um, they arrived with my 2 sergeants. These instructors came from infantry school, and it was Captain Servaas daughter and Sergeant Lawrence. I can't remember his surname. And the following days, they also arrived a recce team from one recce. And the guy, when he saw me, he said to me, who are you? I said, no, 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 no. Who are you? And he said to me, but the intelligence told us there's no white people here. I said, no. You know, I'm here now for 10 weeks. So, and anyhow, this guy was James Taitke. So we met up, we became very good friends. And with him, the lieutenant in charge was J.C. Erasmus. And the corporal with him was Marius Klute, very nice guy. And, you know, we became quite a close team. But James and Marius then left. They left to Kangamba. Kangamba is here. So we were there. They left there for, how can I say, with the SAM-7, you know, in an anti-aircraft role to see if they could. And they managed to shoot down the AN-12, etc. So JC stayed with me in the base, and after 6 weeks, they were ordered to extract. And just before they extracted, there came a relief for me, Christo Geldenhuis. And I briefed him, and then the recce said, no, you are going with us. You are going back to Rundu. So we left, and I think it's the best chopper flight, but the longest I've ever had. We flew about 4 hours. We had to refuel halfway. But when we entered the chopper, there was these hot bain-maries with steaks and chips and ice cold castle beers. And I couldn't believe it. We jumped in, the doctors, we were so happy. We haven't had alcohol for about 4 months. So anyhow, we flew out. We arrived at Lundu, and their commander there was Major Dawie Fourie. He welcomed us at the Reckies camp. There was Fort Foot. And he said to us, guys, you know, everything is on the house here. That was already late afternoon. Yes, their signal officer or NCO was a guy named Rosie. And it was Rosie's birthday. So anyhow, Rosie challenged everyone downing beers, you know, that competition. How long can you take? I said, no. I like just drinking normally. And as Kirsty, the doctor, said, okay, come, I'll challenge you. I must tell you that doctor, under 2 seconds, the beer is gone. And this Rosie will just still, you know, fight with this beer. In the end, Rosie passed out. We carried on. The pilots were there. Later on, we carried them to their beds. We all slept there in Fort Foot that night. And old Dawie Fourie came to me and he said, please, Steph, can you guys just go and sleep because you have to give a briefing tomorrow morning. So I said, okay, sorry, Dawie, you know. So after that, we went on leave, and yes, we had beards like up to here, long hair, and I stayed with my sister, and we had a flat there in Hatfield near the university. And I knocked, and she opened the door and she closed it immediately. She said, who are you? I said, but I'm your brother. You know, she said, I can't believe this. And we sat there and we had a good time. And I went to cut my beard and my hair and just tried to be civilized again. So anyhow, I returned, and we, at one stage, when I was back in Burundi at the training bases, we were also had a special operation or training thing, but we had a group of about 12 UNITAs, and that we were going to train with the Milans and anti-tank weapons. So there was in the night, we went to Omega airstrip, and we left. We flew down to Bloemfontein, and from Bloemfontein, we were put into a Dakota, and we flew to Oudtshoorn. There, we all had civilian clothes, but there was a Sergeant Latergang. He took us to Luiperdskloof at infantry school in Oudtshoorn, and we did some training. We even stayed there at Luipersdorp. So after 2 weeks, we came out and we left for Angola again. And at that stage, my commander, Don Delaray, came to me and he said to me that I must take over the BUT groups of UNITA. Now, BUT is like the recce's of UNITA. Not that they are, not on the same standard, but it's their special forces. But then the old BUT groups, or the guy in charge of them was a Sergeant van Skarrel, and he was situated just north of Fort Doppies. Right there in that corner, it's a place called Sefuma, and he had a small group. But in that time, Colonel Breitenbach, after he commanded 44 Parachute Brigade, he worked for CSI, Special Task, and he was then given the task of forming up the Special Task School, which was called basically Fort Saint-Michel. Saint-Michel was just on the other side from Doppies, around about there. So we had to move from Sefuma into southern Angola. And because of the threat, enemy activities in this area, we started training more UNITA soldiers. But the normal UNITA soldier was just like a guerrilla force. They were, they survived on foot, and they just occupied the territory. They weren't so well trained in countering insurgency and in urban warfare, etc. So we started training the UNITAs on a more like a special forces 3-2 or recce type of syllabus. And in the beginning, it was quite challenging because we had to build our base, the camp, while you're training, and half a day training, the rest of the day building, etc. And we didn't have much material. The SADF only supplied us with nails, plastics for the roof, and then these rolls of mosquito netting, which we used for our windows and our doors. So the rest was just, we built the houses from the R1 ammunition boxes, which we just took the bottoms out, and we used mud and grass. It's an old tradition, ancient sort of building technique. They call it adobe. So that was very efficient. I tell you, I don't think a 5.0 Browning will go through that mud brick. So, and we even made our own ovens from those, and actually we had fresh bread every day, and they even baked us cookies and pizzas and whatever, but we survived. I had a beautiful base there. It was called Ilya, and I'll put some pictures on. But we did, apart from the training, you know that proverb, work hard, play hard. We did that. And we had a little Zodiac inflatable boat and a 25 or 30 horsepower Suzuki. And we decided, no, weekends, I used to ski a lot, do a lot of water sport, etc. So I got hold of a RPG, the case, that lid, and I drilled holes and I made a rope, and then I had my skiing board. You know, we can just lay in like the body ski. And Dave went on leave, and I said to him, Dave, here's a few $100, bring us some skis, 5 skis. So he came up with the skis, and everyone thought, what are these guys up to? And we started skiing there. It was great. Everyone from the other bases came and they said, you know, we also want to learn skiing. I said, but you know what? There where the stream comes in, there's a lot of crocodiles. So if you don't know what to do and you fall down there, the crocs are going to get you. So anyhow, so later this is now 1984, Colonel, he was then promoted to Colonel, Henny Blow. He came to me and he said, look, I need a few of your guys, but we're going to give them special training. So I selected the best guys, and the next moment, he was also with Consolidating. Came up with him, and I think Colonel Savvy from the Spade. So they had a brief visit there, and they told me, okay, within a week or two, you have to go down to Safuma, you know now, it's there, and then pick up two guys. So I got to Safuma, and there was these 2 guys, military uniform, but their hair up to the shoulder, you know, long hair and beards. And I recognized the one. He was Andre Diedrichs. He was then a major. The other one I never met, but became a good friend, Billy van Deventer. He was from Fort Recce. So I left to my base, briefed them, and a few days later, another 4 or 5 of the Reckies came there. Rocky van Blerk and Sergeant Major Trevor Floyd, Johnny Pash, and also there was a Derek Forster. They came with Comrade Naude. So yes, it was quite a lot of guys, and you know, but old Colonel Henny Blow, you know, he entertained them, and he was very nice to us all. And you know, we all felt like old friends and whatever. We had to do a lot of training and work during the day. But this whole group was actually told the code name was barnacle. Now, barnacle means that type of limpet mine, but it's also an animal that see. So they were special recce, not just ordinary. And we had to train a group which will infiltrate. They will also do parachute training and a lot of demolitions. And we were going to infiltrate just south of Luanda. So if you can see it right there. And we prepared. When we got to Rundu, I had my one of my UNITA instructors, Janu. He came with me. He was parachute qualified, and we left with Colonel Blow and the team of the Commandant Charles Naude. Not the whole team was with them. I think Derek Forster, Rocky, and Willie van Deventer together with Charles. So it was the four of them. There's a picture I've taken coming back on that ops. But anyhow, so we infiltrated, but we flew from Grootfontein. So from Rundu, we had to come down and we infiltrated from there. And it was a long flight. I've never done such a long flight. It was something like 12 or 16 hours. And when we dropped our group there in Dondo area by that Kwanzaa Sul Reserve, and we were 3 C-130 Herculeses, and the first one was our one with all the packs in and our UNITA guys. The second one was all the logistics, and then the third one was I think it was Sergeant Major Kitchen from the Parabats. They were the search and rescue if anything happened with us, because we were going to fly low level to just avoid the radar and everything. So, but anyhow, so by the time we got close to the border, around about here where it was safe, I saw Colonel Blowy walk to the cockpit and he spoke to the pilots. He came back and he said, guys, we've got enough fuel. We're going to go straight to Waterkloof. So then we kicked it off, but took off, and we were so happy. We forgot that I had to land at Rundu with my UNITA guy, old Jan. So it doesn't matter. So when we, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, Janu looked out of the window and he saw a desert there. And he came to me, he said, Tenente, which is lieutenant, where are we? Because I see a desert. There's no desert here in this Angola that I know. I said, oh my gosh, Janu, we forgot to inform you. We are flying straight to Waterkloof. And he said to me, Tenente, they're going to kill me. I said, who? He said, no, this is apartheid. Those people, they hate the black people. And they're going to kill me. I said, Janu, don't worry. We'll take care of you. And Rocky came to me, and I informed him and Colonel Blow, and they said, they admitted they forgot about him. So, but we're gonna live with it. And we stayed with Rocky in his house. There, I think it's Littleton area, and he was taken good care of. And across from Rocky's place, there's Botha Avenue, and there was a very popular steakhouse there, or actually a bar. It was called Steak and Ale. And a lot of these old ex-fighters or ex-Rhodesians used to gather there, mainly English guys. So we walked down to the bar just across the street, and it was a long bar, just about 3 meters wide, but 10 meters long. And in the back was the restaurant. But in the bar, you only come to visit, no eating. So Rocky came to the door, and he just made his attention, and he knocked there, and he said, "You guys, you listen to me now. You see this black man here? If one of you touches him, you're gonna get F." And the next moment, all of the guys in the bar, there was about 10 or 12, they just, oh. And he said, his name is Janu. That's it. They all came and they grabbed Janu. "Hello, Janu. Hello, my friend." And what? And they took Janu away and gave him drinks, whatever he wanted. And the next moment, Rocky and I just sat there bored looking at each other. So from that moment on, Janu felt safe. We took him on tours to Voortrekker Monument, to the Union buildings, and then also at one military hospital. The CSI had their own ward on, I think it was Ward 15, which was just for UNITA soldiers, the serious casualties. So he stayed there. I think he even slept there for 2 nights, and just, met up with his his comrades and colleagues, and etc. So it was quite interesting, and we flew back with a private plane. At that stage, CSI started buying private aircraft. As I told you, we already had a small Piper Seneca from Uncle Henny, and then we bought the Dakota DC-3. I think its registration was DHX. And then later on, we bought was it the King Air, one of much better aircraft, more for the VIPs, etc. So during this period, we also, while I stayed with Rocky, I also met up with a Major Tom Cummings. He was from 5 Recce. And Tom was doing his battle group course. And while he was doing the battle group course, at Swartkops, they were allowed to, anyone, if you're a permanent force, you can do your PPLs. So Tom decided, no, he wants to do PPL, because this battle group course is very boring, and he wants some excitement. So he did the PPL, he passed it. We went for a conversion on twin motors, etc. And then he became a pilot for our Dakota with Colonel Fred Frame and many others. And I think by the end of 84, 85, there was the Dakota conversion done where they put two turbo motors on the Dakota, and it was done somewhere in America, Texas. So this one guy wanted to sell two of these turbo decks, and we bought both of those decks. They had to fly over, 4 of these pilots, including Tom. They did their conversion and they came back with the turbo deck. So now we have 3 Dakotas. But the one was just the normal Dakota, you know. It was later converted to turbo deck at Wonderboom. But yeah, we then had quite we could do a lot without depending on the South African Air Force. Not that they did support us a lot, especially with chopper operations, etc. So, yes. I must just inform you, after this long operation towards Luanda, when we came back, we were informed that the group that we flew in, they had no contact with them. And the rumor has that they were all executed. They were caught and they were executed. So it was quite sad to us all, you know, all that work and effort. In the end, the General of Special Forces, UNITA side, was General Bob, shortish guy. His one forearm was amputated. He came to me and he said, look, we're going to start doing our own operations close by, where we have the support of our population, and the targets are much closer. We don't need, you know, all this parachute things. And so we did that. They did a lot of damage to the infrastructure, especially rail lines, bridges, buildings, etc. And you know, I forgot to mention there was 2 groups or 2 people that supported us a lot, and that was Dr. Vernon Joint. He was initially from CSIR, and then he formed MECChem. Now, Dr. Joint was the first guy he was the guy who invented the Casper and vehicles before that. Also after that, the Buffalo and the Mamba, they were all anti-tank personnel carriers. So I got to know Doc Joint very well. With him from Special Forces side was Colonel Sabi van der Spy, whom I already met, but he at Special Forces HQ, he had a special unit. Apart from 2 recce, he was also in charge of EMLC. Now, EMLC made all the gadgets, the stuff that Vernon couldn't supply. So anyhow, then we, in 1985, we got another request for, I was told to train a few special guys from my groups. So I selected the best ones, and we were going to go to Kapinda, the area. And now Kapinda is right north of Luanda. If you can see here, this is Angola, DRC, Kapinda. It is basically an enclave of Angola, but there was been a lot of resistance because they wanted to be independent, and there was a resistance movement there, the FLEC, which is the Front for the Liberation of the Enclave of Cabinda, FLEC, and that was part of UNITA. So we were going to get some 4 agents from FLEC who will come and do a bit of a training with us, and then our group would have infiltrated with these FLEC agents. And the aim was to blow up the oil field in Cabinda. Well, I don't have to say a lot more, but we had from military intelligence, we had a desk which was called Directorate Geography, and they prepare all the sort of the target studies, where if the recce's do a recce, they would come make a model of the target, and then, you know, so in the end, they were aware of our group that we trained, and in the end, they said, no, they're going to do this, let 4 recce do this operation. So we left it there, and that operation didn't go very well. I think that's when Wynand de Tooy was fought, and a lot of others were killed. So just after that, so I had to send these 4 agents back to Cabinda, and I continued with my normal training. And the one day I had an accident. We were doing crossing minefields, and we had a device or a method we called the cloth adder, where you have a string of cortex with like pentolite boosters, half a meter or so, and then you throw it across the minefield and detonate it. So there were some mines lying around, and I said to the students, wait, let me just clear. And I took the mines, put them here, and I started disassembling them. And by the 3rd one, it just hit me, and it took 4 of my fingers off. That one is still okay. So there I lay, took my t-shirt off and just rolled it around, and they came and casevaced me. But I said, no, you are hurting me. Don't carry me like this. Get a stretcher. You trained to do a stretcher casevac. Luckily, there was a doctor about 2-3 kilometers away, Dr. Blumeres. And I think the medic was Luis Simon. And Luis contacted me the other day. He said, yes, I was so cool. They put a drip on me, and they gave me Saucigon. And then they brought me a whiskey, and I was happy. So I waited that night. Eric Rabi, also very a legend. He came, he was a bit further up north, and when he heard, he came down, visited me. And in that time, it happened after hours, after 5. So we couldn't establish comms with Rundu HQ because we've just got a schedule up to that time, no emergency. So what happened is from there they contacted Jamba, and Jamba contacted Rundu, and they said, okay, we'll send a casevac. But I remember before that, about 2-3 weeks before that, Savimbi came to my base, and we had a passing out parade. And there was the Puma pilots from Rundu always had a standby team for Puma for CSI purposes. So the Puma came for the parade, dropped Savimbi there, and I met an old friend from 3-2 time, Lappies, tall pilot. He's my age, and we're good friends. And he said, Steve, I didn't know you here. I said, yes. He says, but you know, I'm going to visit you one day. So that's now 2 weeks before. And the next moment, the casevac, and here comes Lappies. I think the medic told me they first, when Eric wanted to mark the DZ or the LZ for the chopper to come and land, they burnt the whole LZ because he threw a white phos grenade. There was chaos, and then in the end, the chopper landed, and I was standing with an army blanket around me. It was May, it was quite cold, and the drip, people running out of the chopper, like 6 or 8 with stretchers and everything. I asked Eric, but Eric, who are these stretchers for? He says, I don't know. So, well, anyhow, I'm going to go in. I'm not going to wait here. And I asked the technician on the chopper, I said, for who's that stretchers there? And he said, no, it's for the guy who lost his 4 limbs. So at that moment, Lappies turned around and he looked at me and said, F you, Steph, I told you I'll come and visit you. You didn't have to, to let me do it by casevac. So we flew back, and it was it was just one of those things that happens, and that's it. I went to South Africa. The most time I had to do was for rehabilitation, therapy and all that stuff. So I returned, and they classified me as G1K1 again, and I could operate as normal. So yes, so then after this, yeah, I met with, I came back, and there wasn't quite much. There was a lot of operations in central area where my teams did what we call clandestine demolitions. We rigged bombs and whatever in bars, and the Cubans, they always like to party and drink a lot, and we targeted those areas. Then later on, they didn't want to drink anymore. They kept in their hostels, so we targeted them there. And then they didn't want to stay there again, so they wanted to fly, and we targeted them. But there was quite a lot of Cuban losses during 1985. So at the end of 1985, Colonel Jan Breitmach arrived at my base. Now remember, he took over the special task school here, and I was about 16 kilometers inside Angola. So he just came and he told me, pack your bags. And I looked at him and said, pack your bags. He said, but Colonel, where? Pack your bags. But do you have permission from my mate? Listen, I don't need his permission. And Dave Roos came and he said, Steph, let me help you. And I said, okay, Dave, yes. And we gave the colonel some tea and everyone took care of him. And Dave said to me, he says, Steph, while he's helping me to pack, he says, Steph, flip it, organize a job for me also. I said, yeah, Dave, I don't know what I'm going to do, but let's just pack us. But I don't have enough. But I just took, top bag and the essential stuff. And there off I go. And we came to the border here, where the Kwandu River crosses the Angolan border, or Angola and Caprivi Strip. And I know that road. You just go south to Doppies, but then he turned east towards the river, and we got to a place open with short grass and that. Got out, and he sat there and he started taking off his clothes. And he says to me, take off your clothes. I said, but what now? I sat behind him because I don't know what's going on here now. And the next moment, he took his pants off, he kept his underpants and the boots and that, and he put it on his head and he started doing river crossing. And then I realized now I must go. So within a few minutes, I was behind him and we crossed the river. He took me about 2 kilometers into a thick bush there. And he said, you see this? I said, yes, Colonel. He said, I want you to build me a base here for so many instructors, ablution, everything, mess and a bar, what. And then on the other side, you have to build a camp for 2 companies, whatever. And he says, you've got 6 weeks. And I said, okay, He says, okay. We crossed the river again, and he said, you see there, you need to build a bridge there. I'm not going to cross the whole time. There's hippos and crocs there. So anyhow, I left with him. We came to Saint Michel. He took me to the vehicle park, and they had a Unimark ready for me. The first time in 4 years that I had a vehicle. So I was quite happy. And I met the other members of the ST school. It was Major Jakes Jacobs and Piet Brink, Harry, Harry van der Linde, he was engineer. A lot of good guys. They were like a family, and I think there was 3 families. Harry's wife and kids, and Jake's wife and his kids, and also the colonel and his kids, but and his wife, Mrs. B. But the colonel stayed on another dune right by the main road, Katima to Runda. He bought the house there that was called Buffalo Lodge. It's all built rocks and cement and a thatch roof. So anyhow, that Monday, I went to the colonel's office and I saluted him and blah blah blah. And he said, "Yes." I said, "Colonel, I just want to know, where is the people, the workforce that I must build this base for?" He looked at me like this and said, "Hey, that is your problem." And I just thought, oh my God, that's my problem. There is no people in that. So I took my Unimog, I went straight to my base, and I had a team of 10 builders there. I told Dave Roos, "You wanted to work? You said to me 3 days ago, organize a job for me." I said, "Pack your bags now." We're leaving. So we took the 10 builders. We took the chef or the cook, old Danny, and a few other. But most of our building materials and stuff. And we went back, and there was quite big problems because the Major Don Bellaray didn't like that, and we were basically on a wall. So I pitched up a tent on the island where we were going to build, and I hid all the guys there. But the colonel knew about this, so we were just hidden there on an island, so nobody can come and search for us. So anyhow, a few days, or I think a few months later, or like 3-4 weeks later, they summoned me to Pretoria. I think Tom Cummings came with the King Air, and the colonel said, "You must go." And the only thing he told me is, "You don't say anything. You don't talk." And I just looked. I landed in Pretoria, and Colonel Henny Blow is there. And he says, "Steph, come with me." And Henny Blow says, "You don't talk." Now I wonder what, I ask him what they say. It's all about you now, but you don't talk. And for a week about, they said, "Okay, you're flying back." So we fly back with the same King Air, and on the plane was the brigadier, our director, and there was Colonel Mo Ulsif, I think Colonel Jackie Simon, and Colonel Henny Blow, and also Don Delaray. And Don was very grumpy with me. And, when we took off, I just sat there in the back in the corner. And the general liked to play bridge for the brigadier. and Mol Ulsig as well. They like to play bridge. So they flapped the table open there and they started, playing the cards. And after about an hour, Van der Rey came there to the general and said, General, what about Steph now? He must come back. And the next moment, any blow moved in and he said, Don, Steph is not going back to you. He's going to Colonel Breitenbach. And Don said, but Howard, General. And the general told him, Don, you heard what the colonel said. And it was finished, over and done. We landed at Immelman, and the colonel just, he welcomed me. And he said, welcome here at Saint Michel. Now you are permanently here. So we, I think it was really, still is a very big honor for me. But the work started from there on, because this base was built for a special sort of secret ops, where we had to train a personal protection detachment for a political leader. I can't mention names, and by then I already done most of my intelligence courses, including counter-int. So my task was to write the security plan for this operation, and I was also appointed the second in command of the training. So the first thing is we all had to use pseudonyms. I'm not going to tell who the other guys, but my name was Jeff Brown, because it was close to Steph. And so people won't get confused. So anyhow, even the place names, everything, the base that I built was very much secure. And then we went to get our students, or this group. We had to transport them from Apache Airport, because they came in with a C-130. They were not blindfolded, but it was a night. They couldn't see, and it was in samples that were covered with canvas. So we entered there, and that night they just slept out in the open. And the next day, we gave them some time, just to settle, and the training started. Then we had, apart from our instructors, we had 3 or 4 from Special Forces, and our RSM was sort of detached to us. Every month we would get another different RSM, but yeah, they know who they were. I'm not going to mention names. And so, anyhow, then about halfway through the training, there was going to be a selection week, because the key team that was going to do the personal protection was to be the best that we've selected. The others would be administrative, logistics, or whatever. So that's the way we trained them. And then I don't know what happened, but they started revolting in that time. And we had a dentist there from 7 Met who would arrive just to do normal checkups or whatever if there's cases. And this guy, he could speak their language, and he heard them talking about now there's going to be, they want to revolt, and they've got their rifles, and they've got ammunition, and you know. So he came and he warned me, and I called the leader of the group. I said, what's happening here? He said, I don't accept this. I went to them. They were all on the parade ground, stamping feet. And, you know, oh, man. And you hear a shot. But I told the guys on our island, we had 2 containers where we kept our machine guns and support weapons. So I told 2 of the guys, get up there with PKMs, and if I go across there, be ready. So I spoke to them and I said, if you think you've got a chance, just look there on top of those containers. And you think you are surprising me, you're going to get a surprise. So I went to the kitchen. I told them all to evacuate the base. I didn't want them in the base. If you don't want to train, go. So after about 2-3 days, they came back very, sorry and all that. So anyhow, we continued. So after this, they went to South Africa, and we never really heard of them. And I went on a course, the intelligence part 2, and then came back and we started preparing for another operation. And it was then at that stage, while I was busy with training, Colonel Jan Breitmach was summoned to the Lundas here with some UNITAs, and that the operation didn't go well, but there was a real threat of the MPLA coming in, and they wanted to attack Mabinga here. So I went in and they met up with Commandant Les Ratman, who later became a general, and they didn't manage much. There wasn't a success because UNITA were not well disciplined, number one, and number two, their leaders lacked the experience and the training. So anyhow, I came back and the colonel started a staff course, a senior staff course, which is the basic requirement for any colonel. You have to do your senior staff course. So we did it here at St. Michel in my base. At that stage, Commandant Bert Sachs came from 5 Recce. There was also Commandant Boet Swart who came. And we had a lot of support services from the artillery. There was commandants or lieutenant colonels from anti-aircraft, from your um, your tank regiments, all those. So they presented a senior staff course in my base. So I sat in a lot with the course, learned a lot, and I also helped with translation, etc., and whatever. So after that, Colonel Breitmacht just disappeared. He was gone for about a month, and we wondered what, and he came back with almost the whole of Swareki. He went down to Maruru, or I don't know where their base was, and he came back with Willem Ratte, Peter Williams, Piet van Eden, Johnny Poets, Renier van der Merwe, a lot of all the guys, and some of them had families like Peter and Willem Ratte. So yes, that was the start of a new era, because there was now more guys than we were originally. I think originally we were only 4 or 5 from the colonel. So it also has to do because DST then became 2. It was split and it was called DST-1 and DST-2. DST-1 was the West Front and DST-2 was the East Front. And the same brigadier in charge then became a major general. And he was also then in charge of he was called the Chief Director of Military Intelligence. All your desk functions, he took charge of that. So yes, we had to then sort of marry up, because everyone had different opinions, and so we sort of put one syllabus together where we speak the same language, because some were from the Rekkies and the other from 3-2 and from the Parapats, and we combined all that and we agreed on one training syllabus. So it was a really good, it's exciting, and I then Willem took over my base at Ingwe, and it was then called Hippo Base, and he started training more for DST-2, which is the Eastern Front, supporting Renamo, etc., etc. So, and then I took I had a request from Rundu, the person of Commandant Les Ratman, and he said I must get a team to come and support him, and he was already then at Carnival. So we went from Saint Michel to Rundu, and then we had to meet up with him at Carnival. And with me, I had Mike Labaskachti, and we called him Nel, Andre Nel, and he unfortunately passed away about 2-3 years ago. So from Rundu, we moved up with convoys and met up with Les around about there. Between Carnival and Mabenda, there was a brigade HQ. And I must tell you just one thing, because I'm not disrespectful any, but I met Les 2 weeks ago, and he said, Steph, I've got those pictures. We need to sit and chat. And I said, yes, General. Yes, yes. He says, one thing, you don't call me General. So from now, I'm less. And it's not less respect. In fact, now it is more Radman. He's a wonderful person. He's genuine. I don't have anything negative to talk about him, and I think he's much loved by all our forces. He's really a wonderful person. And we met up last week, and we almost have daily comms now. But yes, Chris. So I don't know if I'm talking too long now, but this is now going to be the Quito War. So if you want, we can stop here and then carry on. Or
I would stop it here. I would stop it here and make another episode about Quito, because Quito is so dramatically important. If there's anybody here who don't know what Quito Carnival means in South African military history, man, let us say we won. And I think Wapla Brigades got wiped out. But
no, I promise you, I'm tired.
yeah, but I never knew about the role of CSI. But then always, CSI is behind anything and everything, if you think about it. Without the intelligence, where does the Rattles go to? Where does the Willyfonteins go to? Where does the paratroopers jump? Intelligence is actually the heart of a war. You can't be without it.
You spoke about GRU or whatever, but GRU it's like CSI, but it's on a strategic level. But here we had UNITA, which was the operational level. So yes, you also get the army intelligence, those Yakalsis. The Yakalsis. They were trained there in Kimberley. You had your Navy intelligence. They were very, very good, specialized, especially with, communication intelligence and that. And you had your Air Force intelligence. So all those were more operational and tactical level. But then CSI was the overall on the strategic level, which was basically what we did.
Colonel, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. In the first episode, just for you who didn't see it, I did ask the Colonel, would CSI be the same as GRU, which is the Russian military intelligence, and he answered this for us now a lot more specific, which I thank you for, sir. Now I need to know, this Dan de la Rey, I've heard that he also lost his hands or fingers or something somewhere. Is that true?
Yes, Chris. Unfortunately, he was with 32 Battalion, I think, from the old Bravo group. And then in the training bases, he had to do some demolition works. It was called the Plowshed Mine. These mines came from Rhodesia. It was like a claymore, but it had a 360-degree shrapnel, where a claymore was at 180. So he had an accident with that, and he detonated. He lost his left arm was lost here, and the right arm here. A lot of damage to his face and even his hearing and eyes. It was really sad. And I was fortunate to be at his wedding, and he got married with a sister from one military, And I was at the wedding with Colonel Mo Ulsich was the ceremony master. And we sat there at the back, and I shook the champagne bottle because the colonel was talking too much, you know. And I thought, hey, I'm going to bang this champagne now. And I let loose, and you just hear bang. And I shot right at the colonel. He caught the cork from the champagne bottle. And he just said, that is Steph Naude. I know that. So, yes, old Don, he was quite a character. And yes, it was a privilege to know him. But, you know, I think if I had stayed to work under him, it would have, I wouldn't have had such an adventure. And, you know, because really, all the operations there was, I was involved without too much to say about it. Colonel Blow he was one of the most professional, and you know, he was more than a colonel. He was also a friend. And when I go down on leave in that time, we used to go to his. He had a small holding near Onderstepoort, and weekends we would just barbecue and had a good time there. But he's a great man.
Yeah, he's the same one which the legacy viewers met at the Heki, where we were attacking that base. Yeah, it's strange to me how the same people always come up. Always the same names which is coming up. But I'm quite interested to know, sir, I grew up in a Caprivi in Katima Milelo. And I
Okay.
recall, and this is quite a dreadful joke, and I don't want people to take it too much, it's just a joke. But it seems like Pretoria people came to see how race relations were going. And then they found a guy there who was learning a black guy how to ski there behind his motorboat. And they were very, very impressed until they left. And then they looked at each other and they said, well, these guys don't really know how to catch crocodiles, do they? That's just a joke, guys. Don't hold it. It is in the time of the times. But seriously, did anybody try the crocodiles ever with your skiing trip? Did anybody actually dare to fall off the skis when you were towing them there in the river?
Yes, one or two, but they were quick on the rope and they pulled themselves in. But I must tell you one thing, Colonel Sabi, when they were there with Charles Naude and Charles and Henny Blau, they just wanted to catch fish. And then I forgot to mention, but at the point where the river comes in, the side stream, there was a huge trunk. A tree fell over from the side into the water. So we decided we're going to blow that tree so that we have enough space to turn. So we blew the tree and there was a lot of fish coming up. And we got in the Zodiac, got the fish, but nice tigers, barbel, breams, and we put them. This was in the morning. In the mornings, Charles and Henny gave lectures, and then the afternoon we do the practical side of the lecture. So they got there and they said, Yoshi, look at all these fish. Where did you get it? I said, no, we caught it here. And Charles asked me, he said, but what bait did you use? And I didn't want to tell him P4. I said, oh, we used cheese. And Charles, he said, I didn't think cheese would be a nice bait. And they started they got cheese from the kitchen and they were throwing. But anyhow, Sabi, one day Rocky, Sabi's son was also at the Reckies. And Sabi is a different guy. If any of his children want to do something, he wants to do it first. If you want a windsurfer, no. I must first, learn to do that. So he asked me and Rocky to teach him how to ski. Now, there was a small island that just stuck out like this. And then there's a big pool here. So we got him on the skis and he was doing well. And Rocky started slinging him. And the next moment he got wider and he hit that sandbank and he did about 2 or 3 somersaults and we landed in the reeds. And I said, oh gosh, Rocky, we're in big troubles now. And I got the boat back in the water and we got to Umsabi and he said, Rocky, sorry, I just misjudged me a bit. So no, it's okay, Colonel. Yeah, it was fun.
I know in the police we had the same thing going. We would take a braaivleis spear, we would tow a tree behind the Casper at a stop speed. And then the guy would stand on it or try, but how we didn't die, I just don't know. But I have a serious question for you, sir. And this is actually something I've been asked a lot. When you got back to your sister in Sunnyside and she didn't even recognize you. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sunnyside in the 80s was quite a hip place. It was actually quite nice. It's not like today, which is, I understand, a bit horrible and dreadful. But it was flats and there were people and you could walk around and there were lots of fish and chips plaques. It was a nice place to be, actually. Lots of female students from Tuks University was running around there too. It was quite a place to patrol. Now, if you come out of a bush like that and suddenly you're in Pretoria and it's noise and there's people, and does that work on you psychologically? Do you have problems to sleep or you just slip into this and adapt quickly, or did it ever bother you?
Of course, yes, in a way, but there's what I used to do is just meet up with my old friends. We go out and socialize a bit. The only thing is you can't tell him what you've been doing, what you are up to. So that's the only. And they would ask you, yeah, but tell us. You can't tell them. That's why in most of the times I really get annoyed because they think we were wasting their money fighting this war. But in the end, let's look there. We wouldn't be able to control that area with our people. We had about, let's say, 4,000 troops in Wambuland. When we went to Kwituk and Naval, we didn't have more than 3,000 troops. And the rest was supplied by UNITA. So, I think in the times I trained UNITA over almost 10 years, we trained more than 50,000 UNITAs. And that was just the regular forces. So, yeah, and as I said, this whole operation there was sponsored by the CIA. I think it was something like $18 million a month. We just had to give them our support, and from our side, I think we were in the Rundu, that Western Front, we were not more than 200 members, either permanent force members or national service, whatever. So yes, it was a bargain. And if you look, I forgot to mention, but from around about this point up to there, it's 450 kilometers that this SADF didn't have to patrol. It was under control. Even though the whole of Caprivi, there was no patrols or any other forces there. It was under our control.
Yeah, and history will show us that at one stage Caprivi was actually quite a hot spot. And when it cooled down completely, it was almost a holiday camp for the guys who went there. And I don't mean it demeaningly, don't jump on me. But really, it was not as bad as certain other areas and inside Angola itself. And this is just common sense. But did you ever meet these CIA people? Or did you just know they around?
Yes, no. We once in 1985, we had a parade at Jamba. And I think if I'm not correct, in 1990 or 91, we had another parade and we saw some of them. But, you know, they were just part of the Savimbi delegation. I think in Jamba, they had their personal quarters there. And they just sort of were there to communicate to the United States. So they were not active, and we were never allowed them to communicate with them. We know that in 84, 85, they had supplied UNITA with some Stinger missiles, you know, the anti-air, the same as this SAM-7. But they didn't have really successes because a Stinger is a much complicated anti-air weapon.
There are some people who say that the entire war had to do with diamonds and ivory and things like that. And how do you answer that, sir? Was CSI ever involved with the smuggling of diamonds and ivory and all sorts of this type of corruption? Did that ever happen?
Yes, I'm not going to deny this, but I know and I've seen there was people involved, and I can name them, but that was for their personal enrichment. I will talk later about after 91, 90, in fact, after 89, I was personally involved where we trained divers to train or to mine diamonds in the North Lundas, up there, Lundas in those areas, because it was already under UNITA control. And because we were going to cut our ties after 89, we had to give them something just to survive on. So yes, that's the fact, and it was all the greed. But on the timber projects and the ivory, yes, there was people who enriched themselves, and it's really bad. And I know Colonel Breitenbach, he hated UNITA because of that. And there was also a lot of poaching going on. That's why the colonel, with me and some other people, we started doing anti-poaching in the Caprivi area together with the Doppies guys. So, yeah, that's another story. But yes, if I answered your question, yes, they were involved.
Yeah, but that was not policy. I mean, this was just people doing things on the side. It's not that some general decided, oi, we're going to just steal ivory. I mean, this is just guys who saw a gap. Yeah, the colonel is nodding here, so I think he agrees with that.
It's
But
correct.
I was told that this UNITA Special Forces included females as well. Would that be true? Is there any truth in that statement?
We could have used some agents. I told you we did some um, what we called pseudo opses, or clandestine demolitions. I know at one stage we used a lady to plant a bomb on an aircraft, but that they weren't operators.
I want to ask you about this operation which never took place, the one at Kabinga, from which came Bynon de Tooy's problem with his patrol. And I don't have to explain to legacy viewers what happened with Bynon de Tooy's patrol. It's very well known, but basically they got compromised. Some men died. Bynon himself was captured, and it was just one hell of a story. As an intelligence officer, I have to ask you, sir, were this previous operation, which never took place, compromised in any way which can then lead to Wynand being compromised as well in the same area?
I cannot answer, every question, but all I know, when we had the Directorate of Geography, they the ones that they completed the target study. Now, a target study, whenever military intelligence tasks the recce's or whoever, they have certain, and I think you heard it from previous recce discussions, there's essential elements of information, which is, when you do the recce, you must confirm, is there this, is there that, is there security patrols, is there whatever, and only then, when you satisfy those EIs, you will be able to do the operation. So I can just say the agents we got was working on the target, on that specific oil refinery. They only had leave for a few weeks, and they had to go back, otherwise they would be compromised. And you can understand that, because security is tight with these. And we asked these guards, they were FLEC members, but they spoke mostly French, because the DRC's or Zaire was a French, a foreign colony. So they confirmed to us, yes, there is security patrols. There is this and that. When we informed it to the desk guys at geography, they said, no. But, with the recce they did in 1984, there was no guards, no security patrols, etc., etc. So yes, that is the thing. If you do an operation, you always plan for the worst case. So it was just sad that this happened, because if we had done the operation and it had been compromised, it wouldn't have left that there wouldn't be a compromise to the SADF. It would have been a compromise to UNITA, even only to FLEC, because FLEC would have gone inside there and blown the thing up. So that was the choice. It was decided up there, and that's what happened.
Now I have a last question for you, sir. These people you trained on the island who probably came from South Africa and went back to South Africa, and I'm not going to say more than that. Not even going to mention what language they spoke. But anyway, were they trained as assassins, sir? Were they trained as saboteurs, assassins, or were you training them normally just to protect themselves from attacks which were taking place? I want to say this to you people. There's any liberal watching this. They were grave threats. There were a lot of attacks going on in South Africa at that stage. So the type of training you were giving to these men, what was that about?
Yes, there was nothing unusual about their training. Just the normal. We just had a special group from that were better than the others. And you know, if you're a soldier and you trained well and you have the heart, and you know, then there are people that some just go trigger happy, but there was no real snipers or special, you know, hit squads or whatever. They just there for personal protection.
Well, that is exactly what I wanted to hear. And I must tell you, people out there, guys, come and talk to us. Don't let your story die with you. You know, we're getting older. And you survived so much, so long. Just come and talk to us. It's important. It's important that the stories come out. And of course, we're going to go on with Colonel here. There's no way now we're going to let him go now. I foresee at least 2 more episodes. Yeah, perhaps even more. But sir, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate. I can just tell you, I have the greatest admiration for what you people were doing. I worked with you sometimes in the late 80s. I actually walked into some of your operations. That's another long story. And I was quite impressed with that. But anyway, old news. Thank you, sir. And until we meet again, God bless.
Thank you, Chris.